This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to our daily roundup. We are diving into a massive combat sports comeback, high-stakes NBA playoff action, and a legendary performance in the WNBA. Let's get right into the headlines.
Gina Carano reveals a massive weight loss for her return.
Ronda Rousey reflects on her legacy before the big fight.
Netflix prepares to stream the Rousey vs. Carano spectacle.
Meet the broadcast team for the historic Netflix MMA event.
Stephon Castle leads the Spurs to a series-clenching blowout.
The Pistons force a Game 7 against the Cavaliers.
San Antonio advances to the West Finals after dominating Minnesota.
Caitlin Clark nearly pulls off a miracle for the Fever.
First up today, Gina Carano is making headlines for an incredible physical transformation ahead of her 2026 return to the cage. After being away from MMA since 2009, Carano accepted a challenge from Ronda Rousey for a comeback fight that will stream on Netflix. At 44 years old, the journey back to fighting shape was anything but easy. Carano recently revealed on social media that she has lost a staggering 100 pounds over the last year and a half. When she started this process in September 2024, she was pre-diabetic and struggled with basic mobility. At her recent weigh-in, she clocked in at 141.4 pounds, well under the 146-pound limit. This transformation is a testament to her dedication, as she admitted that without the specific goal of fighting Rousey, she likely wouldn't have reached this level of fitness.
It really is a vulnerable and inspiring story she shared with her fans. Carano was very open about the ups and downs, mentioning that she hit plateaus and had to learn a lot through trial and error. She specifically thanked Ronda Rousey for being patient while she worked through the weight loss, and for giving her a target to aim for. Carano mentioned that her husband and family were her primary support system during the hardest moments when she felt like giving up. Beyond just the fight, she expressed a desire to continue working in the health and wellness space, to help others on their own journeys. It's clear this comeback is about much more than just a paycheck or a win. It's a personal reclamation of her identity as an athlete, after nearly 2 decades away from the sport.
Now, let's look at Ronda Rousey is also preparing for this historic 2026 comeback, and she's reflecting on her complicated legacy in the sport. Now 39 years old, Rousey hasn't competed in MMA since 2016, following back-to-back losses to Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes. Those defeats were devastating for her at the time, leading her to step away from the octagon and pursue careers in the WWE and acting. However, Rousey recently told CBS Mornings that she wants to change the negative associations she has with MMA. She admitted that toward the end of her initial run, the pressure felt like she had the weight of the world on her shoulders, and she lost sight of why she loved martial arts in the first place. This return is her attempt to find joy in the process again and prove the doubters wrong one last time.
Her career timeline is truly legendary, starting from when she was the youngest judoka at the 2004 Olympics to becoming the first female fighter signed by the UFC. She was the one who truly made women's MMA mainstream, defending her bantamweight title multiple times, with most of her fights ending in the first round. Now, as she prepares to face another pioneer in Gina Carano, Rousey is focusing on her mental health and her passion for the craft rather than just the outcome. She mentioned that marrying her husband was the best decision of her life, and returning to the cage with a focus on joy is a close second. It's a fascinating shift in perspective for an athlete who was once known for her intense, almost singular focus on dominance. This fight represents a final chapter of closure for her storied career.
Moving on to the logistics for this massive event are coming into focus as Netflix continues its push into live combat sports. The Rousey vs. Carano fight will be the headliner of a star-studded card at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California on Saturday, May 16. The best part for fans is that the fight is included with a standard Netflix subscription, meaning there is no additional pay-per-view fee required. This follows the successful model Netflix used for the Jake Paul vs. Mike Tyson fight. Subscribers on the ad-supported plan can watch for as little as $8.99 a month, while those wanting 4K quality and spatial audio can opt for the premium tier. The main card is scheduled to begin at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, though the actual headlining walkouts will likely happen closer to 11 p.m., depending on how the undercard fights progress.
The undercard itself is quite impressive, featuring names like Mike Perry taking on Nate Diaz and Francis Ngannou facing Philippe Lins. This event is being promoted by Most Valuable Promotions, the company founded by Jake Paul and Nikisa Badarian, which has quickly become a major player in the industry. For Netflix, this is their first official foray into MMA production. After several successful boxing broadcasts, it's a strategic move to capture the combat sports audience without the traditional barriers of expensive one-off purchases. Both Rousey and Carano have spent years in other entertainment sectors, with Carano in The Mandalorian and Rousey in the WWE, so their crossover appeal is expected to draw a massive global audience. It's a significant moment for the platform as it tests its ability to handle the high-intensity production requirements of a live mixed martial arts event.
Next up, to ensure the broadcast matches the magnitude of the event, Netflix has assembled a top-tier commentary and analysis team. Leading the play-by-play will be the legendary Mauro Ranallo, a voice synonymous with combat sports history. Ranallo is famous for his work with Pride FC and WWE, and fans can certainly expect to hear his signature Mamma Mia catchphrase during the night's biggest moments. Joining him as the color analyst is former UFC fighter Kenny Florian. Florian is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu champion who has extensive experience behind the mic for the UFC and PFL. His technical knowledge will be crucial for explaining the grappling exchanges between Rousey and Carano, especially given how long both women have been away from active competition. This duo provides a perfect balance of high-energy excitement and deep tactical insight for the viewers at home.
The rest of the broadcast team is equally impressive. Elle Duncan, a familiar face from ESPN, will serve as the lead anchor for the evening, bringing her expertise in hosting major sporting events to the Netflix platform. On the ground, Sibley Scholes will act as the reporter, providing updates from backstage and conducting interviews with the fighters and celebrities in the crowd. Scholes has a background with the Las Vegas Raiders and has worked on previous Most Valuable Promotions events, so she's well versed in the atmosphere of a big fight night. Finally, Cody Maumartz, known as Big Mo, will handle the in-ring announcing duties. Maumartz has built a reputation in the Boxer and BYB Extreme series, and his booming voice will set the stage for the main event. It's a comprehensive team designed to give the broadcast a professional, big-game feel.
Now shifting to, in the NBA, the San Antonio Spurs have officially punched their ticket to the Western Conference Finals after a dominant 139-109 victory over the Minnesota Timberwolves. The story of the night was rookie Stephon Castle, who put on a clinic with 32 points and 11 rebounds. Castle was locked in from the start, hitting his first 5 3-pointers and finishing 11 for 16 from the floor. While Victor Wembanyama had a relatively quiet scoring night with 19 points, his presence in the paint was a constant deterrent for Minnesota's offense. The Spurs' backcourt was simply too much for the Wolves to handle, as De'Aaron Fox added 21 points and 9 assists. This Game 6 blowout was a statement win for a young Spurs team that seems to be peaking at exactly the right time in the postseason.
Minnesota really struggled to find any rhythm against the Spurs' relentless, switch-heavy defense. Anthony Edwards tried to keep them in it with 24 points, but he shot just 9 for 26 from the field. The Wolves were flustered throughout the game, and Julius Randle was held to just 3 points on 1 for 8 shooting. This loss might feel painfully familiar for Timberwolves fans, as the team has struggled in elimination games over the last few years, often falling behind by huge margins early on. San Antonio, on the other hand, outscored Minnesota by a total of 97 points over the course of the series. They never once trailed by double digits in this game, showing a level of composure that belies their youth. Now they prepare to face the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder in what promises to be an epic Western Conference Finals matchup.
Next, we have, over in the Eastern Conference, the Detroit Pistons have forced a decisive Game 7 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. After a dominant second half, the top-seeded Pistons walked away with a 115-94 victory on Friday night. Cade Cunningham led the charge with 21 points, including 5 critical three-pointers. The Pistons' depth was on full display as their bench outscored Cleveland's reserves 48-19. Paul Reed contributed 17 points off the pine, and Duncan Robinson made a successful return from a back injury to hit 4 threes. This Detroit team has shown incredible resilience this postseason, having already won 4 games when facing elimination. They were down 3-1 in the first round against Orlando before storming back, and they are now looking to complete another comeback against the Cavs this Sunday in Detroit.
Cleveland suffered its first home loss of the postseason at the worst possible time. James Harden did his best to keep the Cavs competitive with 23 points, while Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley each added 18. But it wasn't enough to overcome Detroit's second-half surge. The Pistons shot 16 of 36 from beyond the arc, stretching the Cleveland defense to its breaking point. Jalen Duren was also a force inside, recording a double-double with 15 points and 11 rebounds. The momentum has clearly shifted toward Detroit, and playing Game 7 in front of their home crowd gives them a significant advantage. Cleveland will need to find a way to revitalize their bench production if they hope to advance. It's all on the line Sunday, and the winner will move on to the Eastern Conference Finals in what has been a grueling series.
Now let's discuss. Taking a closer look at that Spurs victory, the statistical dominance was staggering. San Antonio outshot Minnesota 56% to 38% and absolutely crushed them on the boards, winning the rebounding battle 60-29. It was a total team effort, but Stephon Castle's leadership stood out. Not only did he score 32 points, but he also contributed 6 assists and 11 rebounds, showing he can impact the game in multiple ways. The Spurs also held a block party, outblocking the Wolves 13-2. Victor Wembanyama played a facilitator role for much of the game, content to let his teammates shine while he anchored the defense. Even rookie Dylan Harper stepped up with 13 points, showing that the Spurs' future is incredibly bright with this core of young talent. They responded emphatically to every Minnesota run.
The game featured a massive 20-0 run by San Antonio in the second quarter that effectively put the contest out of reach. Minnesota's Naz Reid and Terrence Shannon tried to keep the Wolves afloat, with Reid scoring 18 and Shannon adding 21, but they couldn't overcome the deficit. Anthony Edwards managed to stage a small comeback attempt late in the second quarter, but the Spurs starters were just too efficient, doubling up their Minnesota counterparts 101-50 in total scoring. Jaden McDaniels had a decent third quarter, but by then, the Spurs were already in full control. The chemistry between Fox, Castle, and Wembanyama is becoming a nightmare for opponents. As they head into the West Finals against Oklahoma City, the Spurs have proven they can handle the pressure of a closeout game with poise and overwhelming physical dominance.
Finally today, in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark nearly pulled off one of the most improbable comebacks in recent memory. Playing against the Washington Mystics, Clark struggled significantly through the first 3 quarters, shooting just 2 for 15 from the field. However, the fourth quarter was a completely different story. Clark exploded for 17 of her 32 points in the final frame, including 5 massive three-pointers. She either scored or assisted on 18 of the Fever's first 21 points in the period, dragging her team back from the brink of a blowout. Her 5th three-pointer of the night was a spectacular shot in the waning seconds of regulation that forced the game into overtime. It was a reminder of her unique ability to get hot at any moment and completely change the gravity of a game, regardless of how she started.
Despite her heroics, the Fever ultimately fell to the Mystics in the extra session, but the performance left everyone in awe. Clark mentioned after the game that she felt like she could have made even more shots, noting that several of her misses were right on the rim. The Fever's head coach, Stephanie White, drew up a brilliant play in the final seconds of regulation to give Clark just enough space to launch that game-tying shot as she was drifting out of bounds. While the loss is disappointing for Indiana, the way Clark took over the game in the fourth quarter is a huge positive for the young season. She showed incredible mental toughness to keep shooting after such a cold start. It was a wild finish that highlighted why there is so much excitement surrounding her transition to the professional level.
That wraps up our daily briefing. Make sure to follow us for the next update on the stories that matter most. We will see you back here tomorrow.